Good morning. It is Sunday, June the 12th, almost 11 a.m. This is Shay Gibson with Wind Alert bringing you a Chucktown wind report for the Charleston area. Let's go ahead and look at the surface map and see what we have for winds and weather today. We're under the influence of a large ridge with multiple high pressures over the southeast region. And what that means is warm southerly air peeling up into our area. The high temperatures are expected to max out around 96 degrees. That's the record set 5 years ago. So if we hit 97, we'll have a new record. Luckily, the humidity levels are down just a little bit, and we're only expecting 100 to 103 degree heat indexes, maybe 105 towards the Midlands, towards Columbia, but at least we have some relief from that. Further relief may be right along the immediate coastline, and sea surface temperatures are about 82 to 83 degrees. With that Atlantic high pressure bringing in the onshore southerly flow this afternoon, we could see these temperatures along the coastline really kind of stay on the lower end, about upper 80s to maybe low 90s. So that's going to be the spot to be today to get away from the heat if you want to stay cool. So here's our data scope for Charleston to see what the winds are doing. We're showing about 12 knots right through the harbor. Some offshore westerly flow. Folly Beach is showing a nudge of sea breeze southwesterlies trying to come into the picture right now. This is mainly from this lobe of high pressure over the Gulf states working with an upper low well to the northeast. It's creating kind of a westerly zonal flow across the southeast right now. If we look at the SPC mesoanalysis, we can see a little bit of further evidence for this, as this strong upper low is really pulling this westerly gradient all the way down to the southeast and showing these westerly values. However, we can see the Atlantic high pressure starting to push this southwesterly flow in along the southeast coast now to undercut that westerly flow as it falls and fades below 10 knots. So I think once we get that westerly wind down a couple more knots, the sea breeze will be able to undercut it, especially since we haven't even met the peak heating of the day yet. The sea breeze will turn on. So here's our upper analysis. This is a weather balloon. This is getting a little bit on the technical side, but what I like to look for is upper return flow for the sea breezing around these levels. So anywhere from 18,000 feet up to about 30 to 35,000 feet, we need this flow to be heading back out over the ocean. So if we pretend that Charleston is right here, and here's the state boundary, we're looking at this flow to come back down over the ocean and wrap back into the coastline. That creates our sea breeze circulation, which gets the wind wheel going. So I always like to look at this return flow, which looks fairly healthy above 18,000 feet. However, down here at these lower levels, it's a little bit on the weak side. And there's going to be a problem with this because when we get multiple high pressures over the southeast, usually two that work in tandem are the Northeast Gulf of Mexico high and the Atlantic high, or the Bermuda high. These usually work together with this southerly flow here, and then this westerly flow aloft here gets this sea breeze, I call it the wind wheel, gets the sea breeze circulations going a little bit faster, especially if you have storming inland. However, when we add a third party to it, this high pressure ends up going up towards the Appalachian Mountains, which creates a giant dome of sinking air. So we don't get a lot of thermal lifting throughout the day to enhance the sea breeze circulations, and that's what I'm a little bit worried about today. I'm going to go ahead and call for the winds being 14 to 18 knots. However, if this high does strengthen as it migrates to the northeast, it could start to have some negative effects on the sea breeze circulations. I do believe that this Atlantic high will strengthen a little bit today to get the synoptic flow right up around 10 to 11 knots, and then the sea breeze circulations will carry it a few more knots beyond that. So let's go ahead and take a look at data scope for Charleston and see what's happening. We can see this westerly flow right now in the harbor. It was about 12 to 13. Now it's starting to sort of fade. We're at about 11 knots for west-northwest flow. We're showing that westerly flow north of the harbor up along Sullivan's Island, Isle of Palms. Folly Beach showing a little bit of that sea breeze southwesterly nudge occurring to the south. So we expect that to be the trend through the day. As we get into the midday hours, we expect the southwest flow to start to peel up and the sea breeze really start to take over. We could even see more of a south-southwesterly flow develop just north of the harbor, but I do believe that will get some speeds up. Once the harbor turns, you'll see these winds really cranking up through and funneling in between the land masses. We'll probably end up with 14 to 18 knots along the beaches. You may see 16 to 20 knots pulling up through the harbor. And that's going to be our wind prediction for today. We could see some higher numbers if that sea breeze really strengthens and we get some enhancements of those circulations later in the afternoon. We could have the late build and actually an evening surge because we do have a backdoor cold front moving down towards the southeast region at the same time. So we could get a little bit of enhancement from this later on along a nocturnal surge or an evening surge as we get into the late afternoon, evening hours. We could see those numbers bump up just a little bit more. This front's a little bit distant right now, and that's going to be our next player for Monday as this front tries to go through the area and bring an easterly flow down the coastline. But for right now, for Sunday, we'll call 14 to 18 knots along the beaches during peak heating, probably about mid-afternoon to late afternoon, and then holding that speed through the evening and possibly even getting a little bit of a nocturnal nudge around 7:30 to 8 o'clock p.m. And that's going to do it for the Chucktown Wind Report. Until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.